Welcome to Entrepreneur State of Mind. I have yet another friend, but someone who is really nationally recognized, Jim Barrood. Jim, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you, Dale?
Good, 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 good. And so Jim's the advisor to the Tech Council Ventures, but that really, that's just one of the many things that he does. I mean, he really does an amazing job of interviewing a variety of speakers and other things, and we'll get into that. But Jim, I want to talk about your origin story. Now, where were you born and where you grew up? And your family is a legend in the town I live in, New Brunswick. But tell me about your background.
Sure. Well, you're right. I was born actually in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and I've grown up in the area ever since. So, as you allude to, my family owns a family business, and in real estate, insurance, and travel. And for years after college, after I went to Rutgers, I worked in that business, and then went back to grad school. And then after grad school, I came out and was about to take a corporate marketing job, and instead saw an opportunity at the Rothman Institute of Entrepreneurship. And I thought, hey, I come from an entrepreneurial family. I like entrepreneurship. Why don't I try this for 2 or 3 years? 17 years later, I finished my tenure there.
And so now, where'd you go to graduate school?
I went to Texas A&M.
Oh, Texas A&M. Oh, really? Wow, wow. And so, you really are, and as the audience knows, I'm the executive director of the Rothman Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, trying to follow in Jim's footsteps. He really did just an amazing job of connecting the organization, and we're trying to build on the wonderful things that he did. And so tell me, and this is fascinating to me, when you first got there, who was Leo there, or the second executive director? And it's a 30-year-old organization, so it's been around a while. Tell me about those early experiences in entrepreneurship, because that's one of the first programs in entrepreneurship in the country, literally.
That's right. When it started, there was only maybe a dozen or 2 dozen, in the country. So it was really one of the forerunners and one of the progressive, novel, centers of its kind. So when I came, Leo Rogers, the second director, was leading the organization. Mm-hmm. He had come maybe 2 or 3 years after the first inaugural director, whose name is Bernie Tenenbaum, who got it launched.
I heard Bernie recently passed away. I wanted to meet him. I never did. Had you heard that?
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, he did pass away recently. But he really, did a lot of the heavy lifting of getting it off the ground. Mm-hmm. And then Leo was just a great leader, and really is the reason the Institute has prospered. Mm-hmm.
Well, but you really have taken it and connected that, and then we'll get to talking about Tech United. But one of the interesting things about Bernie Tenenbaum, who not only founded the Rothman Institute, I got my MBA at Wharton, and I worked for the Small Business Development Center, and that was my first exposure to consulting. And then I worked for Deloitte Consulting for 11 years. But I found out Bernie Tenenbaum started the Small Business Development Center at Wharton. So that's why I really wanted to meet him and just never got to Princeton to see him. But it's amazing in life. You and I have been around a little while, how things come and go in life. And so for the young people watching, realize that you just never know when you're interacting with somebody what role they'll play in your life or what role they have played in your life. And so what you did and you became the director in what year?
2003, 2004.
Okay.
So I was there. So I started in 97, and then 2003, 2004 is when I became the director.
Okay.
And so I ran it for almost 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, you really are I think, maybe the longest serving director. Or maybe second to Leo. So one of the things about running an entrepreneurial institute, and again, this show is Entrepreneur State of Mind, is that, and I'm sure you found that being at a university, you get certain opportunities that you're kind of like Switzerland, where they're not saying you're trying to push your own products, you're trying to make money, or you're trying to do that. So it gives you opportunities to really bring in some brilliant minds and other things. And so I know you were known for doing a lot of different programs. What probably 2 or 3 programs were your favorite as you worked at the Rothman Institute? What speakers?
Well, I think we brought some really high-level CEOs in, Fred Hassan, the head of Sharing Plow at the time, Brent Saunders, the head of Bausch & Lomb at the time, So Dan Vasella, the head of Novartis. So that was really great to have. I launched an innovation series. So that's why I was able to bring in these speakers. And one of the top speakers was Clay Christensen. And he was amazing. And this was in 2006. I still remember it. It was really special. He was clearly one of the top academics in the field of innovation, talking about disruptive innovation, which everyone knows today because of him. Unfortunately, he passed away in recent years. And so that's one of the programs that is really important to me because it speaks to innovation, and innovation is so important not only for small but large companies and large nonprofits as well. The other organization, the one that you've really taken to another level, is the Veterans Launching Ventures, right? And that is helping our veterans launch businesses, and it's such an impactful and important program.
And now, did you start that program?
I did.
Wonderful, wonderful. And as you may have heard, we're now literally because of Zoom, where we've had the program in 3 countries, 25 states. And in fact, for one of the programs, we had a gentleman calling in, I forget what time it was, in Afghanistan. He's serving in Afghanistan, calling into Veterans Launching Ventures because of his passion for entrepreneurship. And so that's such a critically important thing. And I have to be honest, I did not have the opportunity to serve. I just value the folks who've served. But Jim, I don't know if you've had this experience. I'm amazed that more isn't done for our veterans in this country.
Yeah, that's certainly a sore issue, right? And they deserve all of our help. And as we both know, they really have great leadership skills. And that's why entrepreneurship is a natural fit for them, for their career. So that's why it's really rewarding to help them as much as we can, because they are very important people in our society, in our nation, for what they've done and their service, but also because of the leadership skills that they bring.
And so many of them they're much more talented than they even believe. And so part of our role is to really build them up and help them know the potential that they have and how they can play such a significant role in America and feed their families and do stuff. But so much of it is not having some of the technical knowledge, but a lot of it is confidence going forward. So you left the Rothman Institute, and where'd you go what year did you leave, and where'd you go after that?
So I was recruited to run the New Jersey Tech Council, which is now Tech United, in 2014.
Okay.
And so I, after 17 years, was looking for some new challenges, and this was clearly a great opportunity to, sort of strengthen an organization that I had known over the years, and we collaborated with over the years.
And so tell a little bit for those of the folks in the audience who don't know much about the Tech United, what's called Tech United now. Yeah. What is the goal of the organization, and what does it do, and what's its mission?
Oh, sure. So Tech United is a technology trade association, much like a chamber of commerce, focused on technology businesses in general. And so it serves an important role because in New Jersey, there's many tech-related businesses. In fact, I would say, and have said when I started, that all businesses are now tech businesses, right? Or tech-enabled. And that's really important for every business, particularly during this horrible pandemic, to really become digitally transformed or able to provide their services or products digitally as well as in person when that's possible.
Well, and so if you look at New Jersey as far as a technology hub, I know there's been talk of kind of Silicon Valley of the East. Massachusetts is claiming that, New Jersey is claiming that. Where does New Jersey stand when it comes to technology and innovation in the country, and honestly, in your mind?
Well, we have a great legacy of innovation here. We are really, in many ways, the hotbed and the cradle of innovation in this country, because of Thomas Edison, who created 6 or 7 new industries, because of Einstein, because of Bell Labs, which created the transistor, right? And this is just a few things, right? There's so many other inventions, but the transistor is the basis of all computing and communications, right? So that smartphone in your hand has a ton of transistors, right? There's there's like 16 trillion or something transistors on the planet, right?
Wow. Wow.
So just those three people and those three companies alone, and everything that's built off the people who work there. For example, people who worked at Bell Labs created blockchain. Most people don't know that. They
Oh,
think
really? Oh,
some
I didn't know that.
Japanese gentleman created it, but there were researchers from Bellcore that created blockchain. So those are
Really?
just a few of the tech-related innovations, plus all the biotech, all the pharma. So we can talk for hours on end about the innovation. Now, over the years, some of that innovation and technology sort of ecosystems migrated to Silicon Valley
Right.
because people from here went to Silicon Valley and started that with Fairchild semiconductors, and so that built up. So they become the epicenter of innovation technology in the country, Silicon Valley. So we're still, two or three as far as capital spend in this area. New York, New Jersey, venture capital. Uh,
Right.
Boston
Right.
is growing, but we're still up there as far as technology, powerhouses in the country and in the world.
Well, and thanks to you, I mean, you were at Tech United for quite a while. One of the things people don't really realize, and it's amazing how much is in New Jersey, that the film industry really started in Fort Lee, then went to Hollywood. Silicon Valley started in New Jersey, then went to Silicon Valley, and so many of the things. And I joke that if you hear somebody's been murdered or you hear something good, there's always a Jersey connection. It's amazing how often and where we are. And so technology, everybody's talking about technology. I just wrote an article in NJ Biz talking about a new, for Insight, a new technology software that really helps frontline workers, really does training for frontline workers, makes them feel like professionals, help them punch in without, risking COVID and other things. So many of the technology things we hear about are the sexy, social media kinds of events, but there's some great technologies that actually can help to improve the lives of everyday people. What are some of the technology things that you're hearing about that are of particular interest, either social media or for average folk?
Right. Well, I think, anything related to telemedicine, there's a lot of things going on there that are really changing lives and helping us, particularly get through this difficult pandemic. So that's changed. And again, a lot of these things are not necessarily the most sexy things, and they're white labeled, so you're not going to know the brand name. So anything around that is going to be really important. Of course, anything related to blockchain, right? Again, it's sort of started here and has taken the world by storm, right? And so the blockchain is the underpinning of everything, whether it's cryptocurrency or NFTs, or tokenization, which I think has got a lot of potential going forward. So those are some of the things that we don't necessarily hear about, the telemedicine, everything related to healthcare. But the things that we hear about blockchain, for cryptocurrency, is obviously in the news a lot, in NFTs. So those are just two examples of things that sort of emanated from here and sort of are scaling from entrepreneurs and leaders in this state and region.
And so, Jim, a lot of us that are in the business world here, blockchain, and we have a pretty good sense of what the capabilities are. We don't know the technology necessarily underpinning it. But so blockchain is really kind of the most secure system for the average person. Say a little bit about what is blockchain, because people hear it all the time and don't quite understand. They always think it's Bitcoin, that blockchain and Bitcoin are the same, but they're not. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, blockchain, I'm not giving it again to the technical because I'm not an expert, but I'll just say it's a way to conduct secure transactions while maintaining privacy, right? So it can really affect all types of businesses, not just cryptocurrency, but smart contracts is one area which is really important, or even supply chain, where you want to track products in a secure way. So there's a lot of ways to leverage blockchain, which again is just what's called a ledger, but I don't want to get into the technical issues of that. All people need to know is that it's a really elegant system where things can be identified and coded in a way that makes secure transactions possible. And so that's the fundamental of it, the fundamentals of it, and it really will have so much impact in the years ahead.
And just to clarify, so Bitcoin and blockchain, Bitcoin uses blockchain, but they're not the same. And so, because people, used to really mention them both in the same conversation. And then going back to, you talked about medicine, there's a lot of discussion of using DNA, that eventually technology is going to really be able to customize medicine for everybody based on their DNA. And so, we're hearing about that. I don't know if you've ever come across anything recently. I'm sure you've heard about things. Have you seen any technology related to that that's coming down the pike?
Well, I think all the genomics, and there's a lot going on there where people, you can sequence your genome for $100 very shortly, maybe within the next year.
Right.
And that will allow doctors to sort of provide personalized medicine. And that changes everything, right? But on the other hand, there's a company called Cellularity that is aiming to make you live longer through, injections or, I don't want to misrepresent, but he's got some great technology. His name is Bob Harari, Dr. Bob Harari, and that's just one example of technology coming to pharma and biotech to create really transformative innovation, which will extend our lives.
Wow! I mean, it's extraordinary what's happening. A friend of mine was talking about some of the Silicon Valley programs for up and coming young future technology entrepreneurs, and they have almost a fellowship, if you will, where they compete, and then they're venture capitalists that give money. Do we have anything like that in New Jersey, or could we start anything, or in New Jersey as a whole? I have a real passion for urban areas, but is there anything that comes to mind that where young folks with incredible technology ideas can kind of compete for funding?
Right. I think you have an idea of those. I mean, we have a pitch competition for universities. There's different competitions, right? But we have an informal and helpful network in New Jersey, which isn't the same as Silicon Valley, but certainly making progress. So the good thing about New Jersey is everyone knows each other, right? It's pretty, even though we 9 million people in the state, in the tech and innovation and entrepreneurship community, most people know each other and can make introductions, and everyone's willing to help each other. And that's a really important aspect of a startup ecosystem, is the generosity of people willing to help each other and guide them, and help them get funding. I know I've done a lot of that for the past 20 years, and I look forward to continuing to do that, because it's an important part to connect people and help them succeed.
And one of the best ways to connect are these tech groups around the state. I don't know how many there are. I know we host one. We used to host one before the pandemic at FDU, but we will start hosting that again in person. So talk a little bit about those tech meetups that are around, and because again, the tech group knows these things exist, but I think a lot of people outside of technology or new to technology or have new ideas don't really know about these meetups. And obviously they've changed in 2020, but they'll come back. Say a little bit about that.
Sure. So these meetups have been great over the past, I guess, 12 years or so. They've been, New Jersey is fragmented, and that's in some ways very, very good. We have hubs and hotspots all around the state.
All over the state.
There's not just not one center, right? So that's important that there's meetups in every area.
Yep.
People can come together in person.
Let me hold you there, because we're going to take a commercial break. I want to really come to that, because this is really, really important. Because a lot of people are watching or looking forward to how do I connect with people to hear my invention. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll pick that up.
Queen.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey. Plan your New Jersey trip at visitnj.org. Waves of fun. Nights of excitement. And a trail of memories. Now that's New Jersey.
plus this equals this, plus this, and this. Don't drink and drive.
Welcome back to Entrepreneur State of Mind. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell. We have Jim Barrood, who is an advisor to the Tech Council Ventures, as well as a whole bunch of other things. And we were just talking about the meetups. And Jim, you were really talking about kind of the good and bad of New Jersey when it comes to multiple meetups. So continue your thought process.
Sure. As I said, there's hubs of great innovative tech activity around the state. Right, so there are meetups, which are organized usually monthly or every other month, get-togethers where they talk about different topics of interest to the community, whether it's how to grow your business or a new technology, or how to get funding. Right, so these meetups and other types of similar organizations do things all the time, and you just have to check your calendar. And there's different newsletters that will give you a listing of those events. I have an e-blast or email list, which I list events as well, and I'm sure you do too, Dale. Esther Sheridan does, a list of events every week. She has a newsletter called New Jersey Tech Weekly.
New Jersey Tech Weekly, okay. Remember that, New Jersey Tech Weekly. Look that up. Google that.
Yeah, no, so the point is, there's activity everywhere, right? It's just a matter of going out there and finding it. And now, as we both know, Dale, with the pandemic has led to a lot of transformation into online guidance and information like this show, right? So if you can't find it in your local area, say you're in the middle of nowhere and you don't want to drive far, everything is online now. And I would encourage everyone to really look for conferences, get-togethers online to learn and meet other people. And that's really going to be an important skill for the future. So if you can do well by networking and engaging people online as you start a business or as you grow your business, that will be really helpful to your success.
Well, and so one of the questions that, and I wanted to save it towards the end of the show, and so if we have people out there saying, I've got this great invention, it's state-of-the-art technology, but I need financing, I need funding. So and everybody thinks that the greatness of the idea is significant enough to get people to give you money, because you'll see how great it is, as much as I do. So what have you learned over the years on what companies should do, or future companies should do, about financing, planning, strategizing? What are some of the secrets that you could share with the audience?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that now is probably easier than ever in our history to raise money, right? So now that shouldn't sort of get people super confident, right? You still have to have a good idea.
Right.
You have to be a good leader, right? And be able to persuade people to invest in your company, right? But first and foremost, people are going to go to their friends and family for money and get things going. Or on the other hand, things are so cheap to start. It's so cheap to start your business these days. Yeah. You could probably do it by yourself with your own funding.
Right.
Of course, there's also crowdfunding, okay? And then there is banks, and then there are angel investors, and then there is later stage money, which is venture capital, and then even later stage, which is private equity, and even later stage, which is these days you can do a SPAC. You know, so things are there's a lot out there. The point is you have to find, you have to make sure your product has a customer base and get some customers, and and then it'll be easier to raise funds. But there's some state programs which can help as well.
Yeah, and there are more and more state programs now because of funding from the pandemic. And I know NJ, the Economic Development Authority is really passionate about getting money to, especially in urban communities. So when you're looking for funding, say it's important that you've invested, that you've gone to friends and family first, right? I mean, they want to know that you have skin in the game. Is that pretty true?
Absolutely, and it's just the easiest money to get, right? Friends and family who are related to you and have an interest in your success, and may not have the strictest terms. Of course, if you do that, you still have to have some, the right forms, the right paperwork. People get into trouble when they just take money on a handshake and things go awry. Invariably, most startups don't succeed. So
Right.
you want to make sure at least you are doing it in a proper way that at least alerts those investors, even if they're friends and family, to the possibility of not getting their money back. And so that's really important to at least put some formality into it. As much as painful and as much of a headache that is, it's important to do it.
And that's such a great point. And nowadays online, you can probably get some of the forms, or if your friend is an attorney or something, and so you get some of that money. But when you're looking for that money, the money should really be more around marketing, not income, right? I mean, that money is not about you making, getting paid. It's really about getting this product developed into market. Correct?
That's correct. You at this stage, it's all sweat equity, which means you don't pay yourself anything until maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years later. You're working and putting all that money, any profits you might have or any revenue you might have, back into the business to make sure it's stronger and can grow more effectively.
So one of the challenges. Now I have a 16-year-old daughter. I know you have some wonderful young kids we've played tennis with, and one of the challenges for young people is this thrill of making money quickly. And so in a lot of economically challenged communities, like when I grew up, everybody wanted to be a basketball player or an athlete, but if you weren't 6'7", you probably weren't going to make the NBA. But now everybody thinks they can be a rapper. And so that's a challenge. And so I don't need to study, I'm going to be a rapper. And so on the other side, in the tech world, everyone thinks they're going to have an unprofitable business that Google's going to pay $1 billion for because you have, 10 million subscribers. And so they don't realize that's like winning the lottery, but you hear these stories. And so what do you say to people who say, well, my goal is I don't care about making a profit, I just want to make something that's going to be attractive to Google or Microsoft or something?
Yeah, I think it's great to be inspired by those entrepreneurs, but people have to sort of have a little, let's say, humility and understand that the statistics are not very hopeful, right? So it's those companies being bought by Google or bigger company are maybe one in 500, right, or 1 in 1,000. Yeah. So. And the prospects of starting and launching a successful business are rather low too. Right. Depending on the statistics, it's 2 or 3 out of every, or 2 or 4 out of every will be successful, right? To some extent. Yeah. So I think it's important to sort of understand that it's not easy. You need to work your butt off, and you need to never give up, right? And to really take rejection well. And to learn from mentors and people who know more than you, and to take that guidance and try to do the best you can to build your business. And so, I think you have to constantly, for as long as I've known, you have to say that. It's gotten a little worse because of all the social media and all the glamour around entrepreneurship and people saying it's so easy.
Right.
But the reality is it's very hard. It's
very hard. It's a lot of hard work. Well, Jim, this is some great brilliance, and unfortunately we're at the end of the show. How do people get in touch with you? Is there a website or something that they can follow to get more information about your programs and you?
Sure. Well, the best way is just to simply find me on LinkedIn. There's only one James Barrood, and we'll connect from there, and I'll be happy to help anyone. I've based my career on helping other people succeed in business. So feel free to reach out. Happy to help in any way I can.
And you've done a great job. And so there is only one Jim Barrood, and I'm happy to have him on Entrepreneur State of Mind. I want to thank you all for watching. We will see you next week. And Jim, have a good one. I look forward to catching up with you next time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dale. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.